We're back. Second half, Real Matrix. Talked in the first half how all these large investment firms, all these large companies basically have a monopoly over everything. So I want to continue to do that. We have a lot of clips probably to get through, so I'm going to try to hustle through that. So let's play the next clip in regards to these investment firms, who's behind them, who these criminals are. They're all the large money, big money people. You've heard of their names. Let's hear it.
I've decided to only show the tip of the iceberg. If you decide to investigate on your own, using the sources that you've just seen, then you will discover that even many of the most well-known insurance companies, banks, construction companies, telephone companies, restaurant chains, and cosmetic brands are owned by the same institutional investors we just saw. These institutional investors are, as I told you earlier, mainly investment companies, banks, and insurance companies. They are in turn also owned by shareholders. Now, what is the most amazing thing? All of these institutional investors own each other's shares, and together they form an immense network that we can compare to a pyramid. The smaller institutional investors are owned by larger investors, who in turn belong to even larger investors. The visible top of this pyramid consists of only two companies, and we have seen their names many times by now. They are Vanguard and BlackRock. The power of these two companies is something we can barely imagine. Not only are they the largest institutional investors of every major company on Earth, they also own the other institutional investors of those companies, giving them a complete monopoly. According to a report by Bloomberg, one of the most respected institutions in the world in the field of financial data and analytics, experts expect that by 2028, both companies will collectively manage about $20 trillion in investments, and in the process will own almost everything on Earth. The same Bloomberg called BlackRock the fourth arm of government, because it is the only non-government entity that has a close relationship with the federal banks, also called the central banks. BlackRock not only lends money to the federal banks, but is also their principal advisor and the developer of the computer system that the federal banks use. Dozens of BlackRock employees had senior positions in the White House during the Bush and the Obama administrations, and currently under Joe Biden. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink is a welcome guest with many heads of state and politicians, and understandably so. He's the face of the company that pulls the strings. Yet Larry Fink does not pull the strings himself. In fact, BlackRock itself is owned by shareholders. And if we look at who those shareholders are, we come to a strange conclusion. We see that BlackRock's largest shareholder is Vanguard, and this is where it gets dark. Vanguard itself has a unique structure that makes it impossible to see who its shareholders or clients are. The elite who own Vanguard don't want anyone to know that they are the owners of the most powerful company on Earth. But of course, this is no secret to those who are willing to look into it. Reports by Oxfam and Bloomberg show that 1% of the world's population collectively owns more money than the other 99%. Indeed, Oxfam claims that as much as 82% of all the money earned in 2017 went to this 1% of people. Naturally, those who own the most powerful company on Earth would also be the richest among this 1%. In other words, they are part of the 0.001%. Forbes, the most well-known business magazine in the world, claims that by March 2020 there were some 2,075 billionaires. Oxfam's report showed that 2/3 of all these billionaires obtained their fortune through inheritances and monopolies. So this means that Vanguard is in the hands of the richest families on Earth. If we study their history, we discover that these families have always belonged to the top of the pyramid, some even well before the Industrial Revolution began.
So that's really the truth. The big names that we're going to get to, excuse me, big name, the Rothschilds, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, the Bushes, the Morgans, and they're all connected to nonprofits. And from there, that's where they money launder. They get money in, they put it into they invest it into the things they want, and then they get the profits back out of that. It's just a big carousel that they keep making money. They keep producing money toward themselves. Don't pay taxes on this 'cause it's a nonprofit. It's scary. Go ahead, play the next clip.
These families never lost their power, but because of an increasing world population, they were forced to hide behind investment companies such as Vanguard, whose largest shareholders are the private funds and non-profit organizations of these families.
So, no, we want to keep playing that.
To make the bigger picture more clear, I need to briefly explain something about these non-profit organizations. These are the links that connect the business community with politics and the media, allowing major conflicts of interest. At first glance, however, this is not too noticeable. Non-profits, also called foundations, are organizations that rely on donations, and they do not have to publish from whom they receive those donations. They can invest this money in whatever they want, and do not have to pay tax on their profits as long as those profits are reinvested in other projects that they are involved in. Non-profits can move hundreds of billions of dollars from invisible investors.
Yeah, so that's what they do. They move money around. It's basically money laundering. It's these large corporations. I think hopefully you heard that. It was the Rothschilds. They were the originators, basically, of the banking system 300-400 years ago. And they started, because 300-400 years ago, when you were dealing with trade from other countries and people would boat their stuff in, how would you pay? There wasn't a universal money. So the original bankers, the Rothschilds, they kind of set up a system where you could exchange and trade goods and services from country to country. And they obviously really liked the fact that they ran and owned the money supply during that, and they set themselves up in history to continue to do that. And they are the ones behind these federal banks. Our federal bank, most countries have a federal bank, and they're the ones behind it. So they are very secretive and very quiet, and they do not like people to know who they are, what they're about, and what's behind them. And then the other organizations, the Rockefeller Foundation, into our health. I'll tell you something. I don't want to ruin something for later shows, but the John D. Rockefeller basically hijacked our American Medical Association, AMA, back in the early 20th century, 1900s, and made good health, natural health remedies go away, and he brought in pharmaceuticals made by oil, which is what he had a monopoly on, to be able to make more money, because pharmaceuticals are more profitable than gasoline or oil. He hijacked our medical facility, our medical community, and these pharmaceutical medications start giving us cancer. And John D. Rockefeller, started the American Cancer Society. You wouldn't think an oil man would start the American Cancer Society, but it was all to control the narrative and further the propaganda that pharmaceuticals are okay, and we're going to look for a cure, and we're going to make you better. And that was started almost 100 years ago. And with all the technology and all the knowledge we have now, we haven't been able to come up with an answer in regards to cancer. I think we have. I think they're suppressing it, and we will get to that in future shows. But and then the Bush family and the Clinton family, Clinton's Democrats, Bush's Republicans, both of them as criminal as you can get, both of them as anti-American traitors as you could get. So that's why when people are just so staunch on in their political views of the party they support, illegal, bad acting traitors can infiltrate either party, because the Democratic and Republican Party are just clubs. It's not like they're above and beyond human frailties. They're just clubs, and whoever gets in there and runs them can run them any way they want. And if they're bad guys, if they're criminals, if they're bad actors, if they're anti-American, guess where we're going? That's what's been happening in our government probably all of my lifetime. And we will continue to show that as we go on. But we're running out of time here. We got to get to the next clip. Fire away.
The answer we get again from Wikipedia. About 90% of the international media is owned by 9 media conglomerates. The companies owned by these media conglomerates are too many to mention, so I'm just going to show you the most important brands that we all know. Viacom CBS is the parent company of, among others, all CBS channels, Paramount, where the most famous movies and series in the world come from, MTV, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, the popular British Channel 5, and the popular Australian 10. Guess who the largest shareholders of Viacom CBS are? Before we look at the other major conglomerates, let's not forget to mention our extremely powerful streaming monopolists, Netflix and Amazon Prime, both of which belong to the same shareholders. Then AT&T, which is the parent company of Warner Brothers, HBO, Discovery Channel, CNN, Cartoon Network, TNT, DC, and many other well-known brands. Guess who the largest shareholders of AT&T are? The third one is the all-powerful News Corp. This company owns many of the most well-known national and regional newspapers, magazines, and TV channels in the US, the UK, and Australia. The shares of News Corp are owned by the American multi-billionaire Rupert Murdoch and by the institutional investors we see everywhere else. News Corp's sister company is Fox Corporation, which is also one of the most powerful media conglomerates on Earth. Just like News Corp, it is owned by the Murdoch family and the usual investors. Then the Walt Disney Company, a conglomerate of unimaginable dimensions, with many subsidiaries such as Pixar, Marvel, 20th Century, Lucasfilm, ABC, National Geographic, and Hulu. Who are their biggest shareholders? Another powerful media conglomerate is Comcast. This is the parent company of NBC, DreamWorks, Universal, the Sky Group, Focus Features, Xfinity, and many other major media brands. As you would expect, their largest shareholders are Vanguard and BlackRock. I could go on for hours and show that in almost every country on Earth, the local media is in the hands of these kind of conglomerates, which in turn are owned by our institutional investors or by extremely rich and powerful elite families. In the UK, for example, virtually all popular newspapers and magazines are owned by the Daily Mail Group, Reach, and the aforementioned News Corp. In the Netherlands, the entire media is in the hands of the Persgroep, Mediahuis, and Bertelsmann. And in Germany, the entire media is either controlled by the German government, ProSiebenSat.1, Axel Springer, and again, Bertelsmann, which is also a conglomerate of unprecedented dimensions. Not only is this the parent company of the largest book publisher in the world, Penguin Random House, and owner and founder of BMG Music, Bertelsmann also controls a large part of the European media through their subsidiary RTL, a company with 67 TV channels, 10 streaming platforms, and 38 radio stations.
So that's a lot of information, and if you're listening to it, it's a little harder to see. That's why it's fantastic to catch us out here on Robat TV. It's basically put right there in front of your eyes. Video, easy to see, easy to understand, easy to digest. But going back, this last clip was basically about the media, how we say. How I've said in the first show that they control the message. It's all propaganda, and this is really where it shows that to you, that the news basically comes from a few different sources. Actually, we're going to play another clip, and that's where it's going to show how the news comes from a couple different sources, and it just gets sent to all of our news outlets. And then they just regurgitate it. So if you're looking for a difference of opinion, if you're looking for investigative reporting, which when I grew up, I thought that's really fantastic. They're searching stuff out and finding truths for us. It's great. When's the last time you saw investigative reporting going on? Why wouldn't there be investigative reporting in regards to all the health issues now from COVID? And we're going to go over this in later shows, how COVID vaccines caused myocarditis. Myocarditis caused heart issues, and it has caused numerous people to drop dead of a heart attack, people dying in their sleep. There's a new thing, it's called the SIDS, when sudden infant death syndrome. Now there's adult death syndrome, where you go to sleep and you die in your sleep. These COVID vaccines. And again, why isn't anyone reporting on that? Is it not interesting enough for us? Is the news media so busy with other stuff, nobody can investigate that? We will investigate it for you, and we will show you the real truths on what we were put through during this COVID fiasco. But back to the message here, which is the media is owned by them. They're not going to give us truths. It's all gaslighting. They're not giving us truths at all. They're giving us their agenda, their message, what their propaganda, what they want us to believe. It's we're in a dastardly situation when we talk about, when you're in the Matrix, in the movie, and you're controlled, and the computers have everything, and they have all the power. How does just us regular blue-collar boobs and human beings out here, Americans out here, try to sift through all of this, all of this evil that is being propagated on us? Where's our truths? Where's our help? And quickly, you heard in there, again, it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. They also own Fox, and you would say, why would they give the conservative Republican view then? It's to divide us, to divide and conquer. If we are all together on this, we should be for us, Americans, humans, the human race, humans everywhere, freedom to enjoy your life as you wish. They don't want that. They want to divide us. They want us to be angry at the other side, the other you, the other person. We should all be in the same boat. Now, we might look at it differently, how to improve everyone's lives and how to do the right thing for the most people, but they want us divided. They want us to think the other side and the other guy are just the worst guys in the world. They're evil. They want to divide us. It's a message that has been going on for years now, and we are becoming more and more divided. Again, Republican, Democrat, black, white, man, woman, illegal immigrants, legal immigrants. They want to divide us. We're going to play one last clip here in regards to actually where the news comes from and how it gets distributed to us and why it's really nonsensical.
The various news media do not produce their news themselves, but use information and images from news agencies such as Reuters, the Dutch ANP, and the French AFP. These organizations are anything but independent. Reuters is owned by the powerful Canadian Thomson family. The ANP is owned by Dutch investor Kees Omen, and the AFP is largely financed by the French government. The main journalists and editors who work at our media or at these news agencies are affiliated with important journalistic organizations, such as the European Journalism Centre. These are one of the largest funders of media-related projects across Europe. They train journalists, produce study materials, give internships at, for example, the ANP, and work closely with the world's largest corporations such as Google and Facebook. For journalistic analysis and opinion, all the major media outlets in the world use Project Syndicate, the most powerful organization within its field. It supplies the 506 most important media outlets in 156 countries. Project Syndicate, plus an organization such as the European Journalism Centre, together with the news agencies, are the connecting link between all the different media outlets around the world. When newscasters read the news from their teleprompters, there is a good chance that the text comes from one of these organizations. As a result, the global media is often synchronized in its reporting.
We are concerned about trouble and trending irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 So if you weren't watching and you were just listening, maybe podcast, or these are there were clip after clip, I don't know, 40, 50 different news television stations, organizations throughout America saying the same thing from all parts of America. It's the same message. That's our local news. Forget about national. That's our local news with the same message. And these talking heads on these media organizations, They just read what's on the teleprompter. They have no idea. And if they go against the message, they're let go. They're fired. If you're not a team player and you don't follow whatever the message is from the teleprompter, you won't be there that long. There is case after case after case of independent journalists who wanted to do this story or that story or came at it from the different way of, let's say, the elite, and they got let go. They're doing something else now. They're not in media. They're not in the news. It's dastardly. So it makes me feel like I'm in the Matrix. That's the whole idea of the show. I mean, what are we hearing? Is this reality? Is this real? What is real? So we have just scratched the surface. I think for the next show, we're going to talk about the greatest lie, in my estimation, that we have ever been told, and it's from our government. It's the greatest lie ever. And it's surrounding one of the most important, tragic events in our country's history. And we have been lied to about it by our government. And we're going to go in depth, and we're just going to get you the truth. Like I said, if you're strong enough, if you want to hear the truth, if you've taken the red pill, we're going to provide it for you. So stay with us next time. We're glad you're along this time. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Real Matrix.
Want to make your love life sizzle like a Phoenix summer? Summit Male Medical guarantees to help you with ED or premature issues, or we won't charge you. We've helped tens of thousands of patients here in the Valley since 2008. Please compare our most experienced medical staff and low-price treatments to anybody. If you've talked to the rest, it's time to come to the best. Put the sizzle back in your love life. 480-398-1000 or go to summitmalemedical.com. Summit Medical, love for life.